The beginning of NBA free agency saw Fred VanVleet get the bag with the Houston Rockets. The Raptors were interested in running it back with Fred, but the Rockets made an offer VanVleet couldn't refuse, which made the Raptors pivot. Now there's been a lot of chatter about what the Raptors will do next, as Siakam's name has been coming up a ton in trade talks. What's going on, everyone? It's Luca here, back with another video. In this one, I'll be talking about the Toronto Raptors offseason so far and the Pascal Siakam trade rumors that have been coming up. If you guys can be solid favor, please hit a like on the video. It does help it a ton. And please subscribe to the channel for more Raptors and NBA content just like this. Before we get into the Siakam trade stuff, I do want to say that I actually like what the Raptors have done so far this offseason. Given the circumstances, they have made good decisions. Starting with hiring Rajakovic, he's a guy who's going to help develop the younger players on this team. The Raptors drafted Grady Dick, who's the best option at number 13. They signed Noel, and I know a lot of people are counting him out because he's 5'7", but I think he's motivated to show his worth. They didn't overpay for Fred VanVleet, which I'm happy because the Raptors didn't get desperate and ultimately let Fred go and get his bag with the Rockets. They brought back Gary Trent Jr. and Pirtle. When you look at Trent Jr., he should benefit playing under a guy like Darko Rajakovic, and the Raptors couldn't lose Pirtle for nothing since they traded their pick next year for him. Then the Raptors signed Schroeder. Some people don't like the signing, but I'm high on Schroeder. He was the best plan B at the time for the Raptors. He's a great two-way guard and plays with a high motor. And the Raptors signed McDaniels. Yes, he fell out of Philly's playoff rotation, but this can be a steal of a deal at $9.3 million over 2 years. Now, a big L was losing Banton to the Celtics, as I was excited to see Banton receive a fair shot with Rajakovic. But overall, I've liked what the Raptors have done. Now, when I look at the Raptors for the rest of this offseason, they ultimately have a decision to make. Do they run things as is and hope this team can be better than a year ago despite not having Fred VanVleet? Or do they go all the way, finally choose a direction, and trade Siakam to officially enter a rebuild? Now, I'm ruling out the Raptors trading for a star because it just doesn't make sense to me at this point. I see Damian Lillard's name being thrown around, but this is nothing more than a pipe dream. If the Raptors do trade for a star like Dame, they'd have to give up Scottie Barnes, who they obviously didn't want to give up for a guy like KD. And in order to have a chance to win a championship now, you need Siakam as your second option, next to the star like Dame. So you can't trade Siakam either. And I don't think OG as the main focal point of a deal would land you a big-time player. So let's talk about if the Raptors do decide to trade Siakam, because there has been a lot of talk about this recently. Sportsnet's Michael Grange reports that Pascal Siakam's name is making the rounds in NBA trade discussions. The Atlanta Hawks, Grange writes, could be a match for Siakam. Also, during an appearance on Sportsnet's Raptor show, Michael Grange spoke on the developing situation surrounding Toronto, adding that the entire league has an eye on Siakam potentially becoming available. I'm not convinced that an extension for Pascal Siakam from the Raptors is automatically forthcoming. I think that there is a real possibility that there is some movement there, Grange said. It's also been reported that the Atlanta Hawks are fixated on Toronto Raptors star Pascal Siakam, league sources told Clutch Points. But Brett Siegel wrote that the Raptors have not shown a ton of willingness to engage in trade talks surrounding the two-time All-Star, sources said. They have, however, listened to offers coming their way, and the Hawks have remained in constant conversation with the Raptors regarding Siakam. Multiple offers and scenarios have been put together by the Hawks, but the Raptors have been hesitant in all discussions involving Siakam, sources said. It is worth noting as well that the Hawks have been willing to discuss all options in their pursuit of Pascal Siakam, as long as those talks do not involve Trae Young. And Siegel wrote that All-Star guard DeJounte Murray and forward DeAndre Hunter are their two best tradable assets, with Murray emerging as a possible target for Toronto in trade discussions, sources said, after VanVleet's free agency decision. No deal between the Hawks and Raptors appears to be imminent at this time. Now, just for the record, I said since the trade deadline that my ideal Raptors timeline was to not bring back Fred VanVleet, which happened, and to trade Siakam to get as many assets as you can in return and build around Scottie Barnes. It might actually happen now. I was down for a Siakam trade for the third pick, which ended up being Scoot Henderson, who I believe will be a very good player. I made a video on this before. I really wanted to see the Raptors strike that deal with the Portland Trail Blazers, which obviously involved the third pick, Simons, and some other filler pieces. But trading Siakam for a Murray package, especially if it doesn't include Kobe Buffkin, doesn't move me. If a deal does get done with the Hawks, the Raptors need to prioritize getting Kobe Buffkin. It'll be interesting to see the approach the Raptors take. If they ride things out and don't get Siakam locked up to an extension before next offseason, then the same thing could happen with Siakam that just happened with Fred. I know Siakam has said that he wants to stay here in Toronto, but things could change and money talks. This is how I look at things right now. This roster currently constructed. Can they be better than last year's team? They can, but is this roster good enough to compete for a championship? The answer is no. That's where the Raptors may have to finally embrace picking a direction and trade Siakam to start this rebuild. Another thing that could incentivize the Toronto Raptors to trading Pascal Siakam is the fact that being bad for this upcoming season wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Let's not forget, the San Antonio Spurs, they have the Raptors' first round pick for 2024, and it's top 6 protected, which means if that pick is outside of the top 6, that goes to San Antonio. So if the Raptors are a middle of the pack team, that's for sure going to San Antonio. But if that pick is within the top 6, that goes to the Raptors. So if the Raptors are a bad team, they will at least be rewarded with an opportunity to draft another good young player to add to this young core of players. And for those people saying, well, Luka, the Raptors wouldn't have re-signed Jakob Poeltl if they were going to blow this thing up and rebuild. Not necessarily. I mean, the Raptors could not have lost Poeltl for nothing after trading that pick. They needed to bring him back regardless. And the other part of it, too, is, do the Raptors want to build around Pascal Siakam moving forward? Do they see Siakam as that main guy that will lead him to a championship? Do the Raptors want to pour all that money into Siakam as being the guy when he has proven that he's not that guy? And I've always said this, and my take has never changed. Pascal Siakam is a tremendous secondary option, and he would be potentially a missing piece on a lot of teams that are close to winning a championship. And there probably are teams around the league right now that look at Siakam as being that needle mover. A team like the Dallas Mavericks, they have Luka Doncic. They get a guy like Siakam, they're obviously a championship contender. A team like the Atlanta Hawks, I know he gets his fair share of criticism, but Trae Young, he's a big-time player. The Hawks get Siakam to pair with Trae Young. All of a sudden, the Hawks can make some serious noise and be a legit contender in the East. So you can see how there are teams out there that probably look at their situation and say to themselves, we're a Pascal Siakam away from becoming a championship contender. Whereas if he stays with the Raptors, he will be that main guy. So we'll see what happens from here. Make no mistake about it, though. If the Raptors do end up getting a Siakam deal done this summer, they're going to be very methodical with it. They're going to take their time. It's said that the Raptors are tough to deal with when it comes to making trades, and they're definitely going to maximize a potential return on a deal like this, and I want them to. I don't want the Raptors to stupidly trade Siakam. There are a lot of variables to this. There are a lot of moving pieces. I can see this thing going in either direction at this point. I can see the Raptors running things as is or finally embracing a rebuild. So time will tell how this goes down. But guys, what do you want to see happen from here on out? Do you want to see the Raptors run things as is? Do you want to see the Raptors blow this thing up and trade Siakam? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Again, guys, thank you so much for your continued support on this channel. It means the world to me. Hit a like and subscribe on your way out. And that is it for me. This is Lucas signing off. As always, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you all again in the next video.